A group of assassins emerged from the dark sea. They began to approach a castle on the sea. The dark shadows moved without sound. They aimed and shot closely at the two guards guarding the door. Javier was preparing to take a shower when he heard movement from outside. Before he could wait for the assassins to attack, he hid behind the door to counterattack first. He wrapped a towel around an assassin's neck and then stalked him like a frog, not wanting to frighten his little daughter. He immediately tried his best to destroy the enemy as quickly as possible. But very quickly, he quickly threw a smoke bomb and ran into his daughter's room. Javier signaled the girl not to make a sound because someone wanted to assassinate the father and daughter. Because smoke bombs obscured vision, the assassins could only grope in the dark. This was his house, so Javier was familiar with every corner, so he rushed out to attack them first to take advantage. He was a shadow assassin of his time, like John Wick, so he easily shot down all these zombies. Then he and his daughter ran into a secret room behind the bookcase to escape. Javier knew clearly that the number of killers did not stop at the guys he just defeated. Moreover, the bravery of these guys was quite formidable. Otherwise, how could they get past the gatekeeper without causing a big stir? Suddenly, a few other guys rushed in from nowhere to stop Javier from getting inside. Because he protected his daughter directly due to the fierce battle with them, when he overcame this guy and fell, another guy rushed over and tried to kill him. Although Javier's close combat skills were extremely good, his human strength was limited. Soon he felt out of breath and was gradually exhausted. The little girl inside the basement only dared to open her eyes and look from afar. Seeing her father being harmed by strangers, the little girl was extremely worried. Then, in the terrifying red smoke, a man stepped out. He was the person behind the assassination of Javier and his daughter. He was extremely surprised and looked indignantly at the person who had just come. At this time, the man said that because Javier did not follow his request, he received this outcome. It turned out that Kunta was a member of the Russian assassin organization Ruska Roma, the same organization as John Wick. However, behind this organization, he also worked under the council's supervision. The death of Javier's wife was also arranged by this old man, who was originally active in a Russian gang. He once ruined a major mission of Kunta and caused him heavy damage. So this old man took revenge on Javier to destroy his life. Next, he forced him to reveal where his daughter was hiding because the old man believed that the girl had been told about that mission by her father. So he wanted to eliminate both father and daughter to clean things up. Javier, of course, refused to confess and was brutally tortured. Very angry at the opponent's bravery, he pulled out a gun to threaten and force him to shoot to end his life, so he would think of sparing his daughter. Because after all, Javier had been guided by Kunta since he first started working as an assassin in the underworld. When Javier was about to sacrifice himself to save his daughter, the girl screamed to stop her father. Taking advantage of the loophole, he immediately shot down the surrounding assassins. While fighting, he was unfortunately knocked out by his opponent. When the blade was almost at his father's neck, the girl immediately opened the door and ran out, then bravely pulled the trigger to save Javier. This was the first time in her life that she used a gun, a turning point that would change her whole life that no one expected. The father and daughter ran into the safe basement. He then attached a time bomb to destroy the building, killing all the guys hiding inside. Unfortunately, Javier was injured while fleeing. As soon as they reached the gate, the castle exploded. Fire filled the entire sky, burning even the cold-blooded assassins. When the old man saw this, he got angry and left. Due to exhaustion, Javier quickly collapsed, leaving her beside him constantly crying. After her father's death, she was helped by a man named Winston. He is the manager of the Hotel Continental, New York. This place specializes in serving guests from the underworld. During the time he was active in the Ruska Roma gang, her father was acquainted with him. He knew his friend had passed away, leaving behind a young daughter. Winston decided to bring her back to the Ruska Roma gang. After all, this was her father's second family. At least she didn't feel lost anymore. The little girl was led to a ballet theater seen from the outside. This place was no different from other places. But behind that flashy shell was a long-standing Russian professional assassin organization. They specialize in training ballet dancers into killing machines from a young age. The director of this theater was a powerful woman. In religious circles, people called her godmother. Knowing the pain of losing her father made her eager for revenge. Her godmother invited her to join her ballet troupe, where girls were harshly trained from a young age to become the strongest in the underworld. Of course, she agreed to join the gang Ruska Roma to plan to assassinate the person who killed her parents. Winston was very happy because the girl was finally able to hide in peace for a while. He gave her a gold coin with the meaning that Continental New York welcomed her any time. When Winston leaves, the woman in charge of the group of young assassins came forward to introduce herself to her. It turned out that Nogi and her father were also fellow students in the past when they worked under the authority of the assassin organization. Hearing that, she was very curious to hear Nogi talk about her father's childhood. His nickname was the Phantom Assassin, but Javier never killed innocent people. He even protected them. Time passed slowly. It had been 12 years since she joined the Ruska Roma gang. Now she was a professional dancer, wearing a guild tattoo on her back to mark her place in the large auditorium. The godmother was testing her skills after each training session. Even though she danced on the floor to the point of dripping sweat, her eyes were still full of resilience. Then, she and her fellow students participated in martial arts and shooting training sessions. Here, Nogi asked everyone to join in the mission of protecting the person next to them. The two would become a couple. Her shooting skills, honed for many years, were extremely proficient. However, due to being too careless, she failed in the first round because another team shot them. Then, they participated in the second round. It was a martial arts competition, but with her small body, she encountered one failure after another. Just like that, the young assassins had to undergo daily training until they mastered each skill one by one. After a long time of practice, finally she also practiced all her skills to the point of being amazing. Female manager Nogi seemed very appreciative of her progress. Now she was a prominent factor in the Ruska Roma gang's assassin organization. When she discovered her best friend's bed was empty, she immediately ran to ask why, but only received a concerned look from her godmother. She explained that because Tatiana did not possess the necessary qualities, the organization decided to expel her. But with her, it was different. Her godmother saw her potential as the successor to John Wick, the #1 boss of the evil world. John once belonged here, and now she was the person whose godmother hoped would also do extraordinary things like her senior. First, she had to go through the final stage of training. A beaten woman was brought before her. It turned out that she was also an assassin, so when she saw her young face, the woman looked disgusted. Two people sitting opposite each other started assembling guns. Whoever was slower would lose their life to the other person. This time, she did not betray her godmother's trust, and quickly sent the female assassin to an early grave. So now she was officially called an assassin, and could go out to practice. That day, she and her fellow students had the opportunity to meet John Wick for the first time in their lives. It was said that he was involved in trouble involving the supreme organization, the High Table, so he came to ask to be released from the gang Ruska Roma. She stood there waiting for John Wick to come out. She began asking him about his experience working as an assassin. However, John Wick advised her to think carefully, because when you step on this path, there is only mud around. It's hard to get your foot out. However, a person who has been harboring a grudge for many years cannot easily let go. She received her first mission to protect a rich lady, none other than the Korean idol Soo Young of pop idol group SNSD. Because Soo Young's father was afraid that enemies would kidnap his child, he paid the Russian gang a huge amount of money to keep his daughter safe. Nogi then gave her a state-of-the-art gun that was 3D printed, but to avoid the woman idol panicking, she could only use rubber bullets when she was fully prepared. She changed into a suitable outfit to blend into the bar because Soo Young was having fun and dancing inside. Suddenly, she discovered a group of strange men approaching the girl, so she asked for orders to take action. She didn't have time to think too much. She immediately ran downstairs to save the female idol, but the men did not intend to get out of the way. It didn't take long for the two to attack. Because the opponents were all tall guys, she lost in the first rounds. Seeing this, the guys fought harder and harder. She immediately pulled out a gun and fired rubber bullets to temporarily stop them. Next, a guy jumped from behind and attacked her, leaving her unable to react. The other guys also quickly rushed in to attack her. She continued to stand up, pulled out her gun and fired continuously at those strangers. Seeing Soo Young being dragged away by a man, she quickly followed behind. When this guy saw her stubbornness, he began to show impatience. It must be said that he was also very skilled, because with just one kick, a well-trained female assassin like her was thrown quite a distance. However, this was still consistent with the training exercises in the organization. She quickly stood up and used the hammer to repeatedly hit his stomach and legs. When this guy tried to resist, she hooked the sharp end into his stomach, making his face contort in pain. However, this mission did not require killing people, so she just gave him a threatening look. Next, she went to Soo Young's place and planned to take her out of here. At this time, Soo Young was also very scared, and still didn't know if she was a good person or not, so she decided to resist. But then she also succeeded in her mission to protect the billionaire's daughter. That's why she was qualified to get tattooed with the Russian gang symbol. In a flash, she had been practicing for 2 months. Every time she finished a job, she had the habit of taking photos to send back to customers. Every time she accepted a mission, she was paid a generous amount of money, which made her feel that this profession was not very cruel to her. Before leaving, she carefully took back all her weapons to avoid leaving evidence behind and to ensure there were no loopholes in her actions. So she leisurely drove away without any hindrance. Suddenly, a high-speed car crashed directly into her car. Then people in the car started shooting. Of course, she did not sit still and accept the battle, but also fired fiercely. An assassin rushed out and attacked her, making her a bit startled. Very quickly, she regained her form. After punching the guy unconscious, she swung an axe to quickly finish him off. Just as she was about to leave, she discovered a suspicious tattoo on his wrist. It resembled the tattoos on the hands of the assassins who came to her house to assassinate her family in the past, filling her with doubt. She took that guy's hand home and asked her godmother her questions. She was very angry, thinking that her godmother had hidden the truth from her for many years. Apparently, she knew the gang killed her father and still didn't reveal it. But the godmother advised her not to touch them because the Russian gang has always said that river water does not violate well water. Moreover, this was a rule in the underground world governed by the High Table Association. If you disobey, they will chase you and kill you. Although she outwardly agreed with the order not to search for traces of this matter anymore, she was still not really committed. The next morning, she went to the Hotel Continental, New York to find Winston. In the past, he was also the one who entrusted her to the organization. She approached the reception desk to request a meeting with Winston. At first, the receptionist was a bit indifferent, but when she realized that she was Javier's daughter, she immediately changed her attitude to be more welcoming than before. Meeting the girl again many years later, he was not surprised, especially when he heard her voice her doubts about the old gang of assassins who assassinated her entire family. She was convinced that he knew something. But Winston was also like her godmother. They all warned her not to dig deeper because everyone had to follow the rules. She immediately placed a gold coin on the table. This was exactly what he gave her from 12 years ago. Seeing that, Winston could no longer refuse. It turned out that the assassins in the past belonged to a sect. They not only viewed killing as normal business, but also for entertainment. Regular assassins like her and John Wick had rules to follow, but these sects were even more lawless and fearless of any force. No one knew their exact location, but the only way was to track them in this hotel. After all, the Continental welcomed anyone, and there was a rule that no killing was allowed within the hotel. If you violated the rules, you would be expelled from all services and would receive a worldwide arrest warrant. Winston also enthusiastically called the assassin newsroom to ask for the identity of a member of that cult. He believed he was staying at the Continental in Prague. The female announcer said that his name was Daniel and was wanted for more than $2 million. When detailed information about the initial clue was available, she quickly arrived at the Hotel Continental in Prague. Waiting here were other assassins with the same goal as her. They looked at her with wary eyes. The female assassin and her associates outside discovered her sneaking out of the window to climb into Daniel's room. At this time, she entered the room but did not see Daniel, but only saw a child with a scared face. The little girl begged her not to harm her father. Hearing this, she also remembered that the girl's situation was no different from hers 12 years ago. Before he could finish speaking, he was standing right behind her. Because she was caught off guard, she had to throw up her hands and surrender, not daring to act. Not to bother further. She went straight to the point, asking him for information about the cult and why they wanted to kill her father. Seeing that the person who had just arrived didn't seem to intend to harm him, Daniel put down his weapon. He also advised her not to get involved in this matter. The two's conversation was seen by a killer. He immediately contacted the female supervisor inside the lobby. After knowing that she did not intend to take action to eliminate Daniel, she immediately called the vigilante service and raised Daniel's bounty to $4 million. This news quickly spread throughout the underground community. You must know that for normal people, $4 million to spend in a lifetime was still too much. That's why the vigilantes outside were trying to hunt for Daniel more than ever. She did not realize that she had just fallen into a trap set by the female leader. She originally wanted to eliminate Daniel, so she used her as bait. The assassins couldn't help but surround the room where Daniel was staying. However, because he had set up an automatic gun trap, an unlucky person was sent off to an early grave without having time to do anything. She also stopped another female assassin from leaving so Daniel could pull his daughter away. Seeing this, the female leader had to personally go scout. On this side, Daniel encountered many other groups. He had to ask his daughter to hide in a place. As a hired killer for many years, his strength was not bad. After a while of struggling with the assassins, she also found the father and son's hiding place. Thanks to the information Daniel provided, she somewhat grasped the current situation. He begged her to protect his daughter and told her how to find the enemy's whereabouts. Even though he was a ruthless murderer, he loved her very much. Just like Javier in the past, seeing the image of his father, she finally agreed to help Daniel keep Ella safe as they joined the crowd. Daniel fired a gun into the air, causing the crowd to riot. But unfortunately, the female leader's henchmen still tracked them down in time. Despite his best efforts, he was still defeated by the enemy assassin. Even she couldn't escape danger when she was sneakily attacked from behind. Indeed, the female leader was the henchman sent by her uncle. He also wanted the female leader's gang to capture his daughter Daniel. The female assassin once narrated the entire incident, and her presence made him suspicious. On this side, she was handed over to the manager of the Continental Hotel in Prague because she and the two remaining assassins used force within the hotel's premises. But she said that they were the ones who started it, and she didn't kill anyone. Luckily, the manager trusted her, so he only destroyed the other two people. Next, she went to a store to buy weapons. Still following the old rules, she placed the gold coin on the table and asked for information about the sex tattoos. However, the boss did not want to get into trouble, so he refused to answer. She couldn't convince him, so she only intended to buy hot goods to prepare for the upcoming battle. The guns that the shop owner brought out for her to try were all the most advanced weapons, equipped with armor and heat-preserving carbon, causing 10 times more damage than conventional guns. Suddenly, a group of assassins rushed inside to attack them. She reacted quickly and hid in a nearby storage room. She also used a few seconds of grenades to give these guys a big gift. As soon as these guys showed up, they were blown away. The remaining names were also cleaned up by her. Some people were hit by mines and returned to the grave. Some people were shot like honeycombs. At this time, the shop owner saw that he was being attacked for no reason and decided not to let this sect be tainted any longer. He revealed to her the location of the mountaintop that these people frequented. Surely this was their secret base. She immediately set out to drive to the snowy mountains. Surrounding this moonlit space, unexpectedly, there actually existed a small village hidden deep inside. However, her whereabouts were quickly discovered by them. The godmother of the Ruska Roma gang also called to warn and advise her to give up because this sect was more dangerous than she thought. This time, she did not intend to listen any further, so she directly hung up, making her godmother extremely angry. Then she went into a souvenir shop. This was the gift she received from her father when he was alive. At this time, a suspicious car stopped in front of the store. Seeing this, everyone in the restaurant was scared and left to avoid being killed. As soon as he saw her, he quickly opened fire. She did not give up and fired back enthusiastically. She then successfully disarmed him. But with the above size deviation, this big guy easily threw her aside. But she herself was extremely flexible. She jumped on him and blinded him. The waitress saw this and called outside for help. It didn't take her long to finish dealing with him. Next, she ran upstairs to find more clues. But the serving girl just now was not a good thing. She used a knife to attack her, but she stopped him. Unfortunately, during the fight, the gun fell into a pile of dishes. Both sides prevented the other from finding weapons, but she was one step faster. The woman quickly hid behind the door and was locked inside. It turned out that the guests just now were not honest people. They brought guns inside to hunt her. She tied the knife to the handle of the gun, creating a new weapon with a creative way of fighting. She easily took down both close targets and shot down those at a distance. Because she wasn't paying attention, she was sneakily attacked from behind by a guy. Luckily, she reacted in time and destroyed all of these enemies. Next, she slipped out through the back door of the shop. But all the movements were observed by another person standing from afar. He immediately called to inform her uncle. Now, this old man was the judge of the sect. All the people in the village were his parishioners. They had been brainwashed, so they were extremely excited by the presence of a stranger like her. They were manipulated by her uncle to separate from outside society, so they thought she would come to harm them. Unfortunately, she still hadn't realized it. Only when the entire village chased her did she hastily flee. But they were also trained as killing machines, so even if they were shot, they still tried to stay behind her. She had no other choice but to climb onto the roof. However, they were familiar with the area, so they easily discovered her. Despite her good fighting skills, the numbers on both sides were too skewed. In the end, she was still exhausted and controlled by the villagers. When she woke up, she realized she was tied to a chair in a strange room. She still didn't know that she was the little girl he chased after. He still thought she was part of the gang Ruska Roma who had come to cause trouble. Worrying about personal matters got her godmother and her fellow student into trouble. She said that she came for another purpose, not related to Ruska Roma. Seeing that, he thought she came to save Ella. Revealed that the girl was his niece, so it would be safe to stay here. And Daniel was his biological son. Just because he ran away from the cult, his own father hired an assassination service to eliminate him. She was extremely angry at this old man's inhumane actions. Through the conversation, he finally realized that she was Javier's daughter. What was even more surprising was when he himself revealed the truth that she was the younger sister of the female assassin Lena. She was also surprised and couldn't believe what she had just heard. When the two ran into the room, they saw that she had defeated most of the henchmen. Without thinking, Lena immediately went to help her sister. She took that opportunity to run to the door and escape. The other person also quickly chased her away. Perhaps Lena wanted to clarify whether what she said was true or not. She lured the female assassin into a house and then suddenly hit her from behind. As soon as she looked closely at her face, Lena was happy to immediately recognize that the two of them had similar features. When she learned that the person who once pursued her was her only sister in the world, it was extremely difficult to believe. Originally, both Lena and she came from this sect. They were born in this village many years ago. It was both of their fathers who took her away from here. Lena believed that their father's death was deserved because he betrayed the school, causing their mother to have to die as payment. However, Lena had been brainwashed by her uncle, so she still insisted that he tried to save her sister to bring her home. She was indignant when her sister remained stubborn. Outside the house was surrounded from all sides by their henchmen. The assassin who recounted the situation inside immediately ordered his subordinates to eliminate both of them because he was afraid that Lena would know the truth about where she had always been loyal. Immediately the house was bombed and exploded. She could not avoid it in time and was shot in the stomach by grenade fragments. Discovering that her sister was seriously injured, she quickly walked over to help. By the time Lena realized she had been tricked, it was too late. She only had time to say a few words to her sister before she died. The assassins out there had not let them go yet. She realized that if she didn't act immediately, she would have to die like her sister. Waiting for them to enter the house, she immediately took the sword and gave each of them a skewer to quickly destroy them all. Next, she replied over the radio that she would personally kill him for what he had done. He was extremely worried because he knew she would really do that. So this old man immediately called her godmother to inform her that she had come to join the faction and massacre everyone. To calm his anger, the godmother agreed to send someone to deal with her in return for no war between the two sides. Of course, this was beneficial for him, so he quickly agreed. He didn't forget to threaten that if before midnight she was still alive, he would execute a retaliation order against the Ruska Roma gang. Nogi next to him saw this and begged his godmother to protect her because she was their family. But the godmother still put everyone's safety above an individual's. The one she relied on this time was none other than the #1 boss in the underworld, John Wick, who was here to destroy her. Even when she saw the boogeyman, the godmother also nodded with satisfaction, because John had finished the job easily. He immediately informed the villagers not to let John Wick hunt. She knew this and was extremely scared, because she also knew she was no match for John Wick. But when he was about to, he gave her a choice, that he would not kill her if she gave up and left. However, she would rather die than forgive the person who harmed her entire family, so even though she was scared, she still decided to fight. Although her skills were quite flexible, John Wick was on a completely different level. Very quickly, she was knocked to the ground by him. But John did not intend to take her life, so he advised her to leave immediately. But a stubborn person like her would not give up. She rushed forward to continue fighting with him. Even though she was repeatedly knocked down, she continued to stand up. She begged him to let her retaliate, and then, no matter how the Ruska Roma gang dealt with her, she would accept it. He gave her time to finish the job first, until 12 o'clock. Next, she sneaked to her uncle's house. The unlucky assassin had a mine stuffed into his mouth by her and then hung over the gate. Discovering that John Wick had let her go made him extremely angry. He called on all people to use all their strength to attack the foreigner. It didn't take long for them to discover where she was hiding. She easily eliminated the 2 men who had just arrived and then used their guns to take out the crowd outside. A larger assassin took advantage of her injury and kicked her in the stomach, causing her to fall backwards. She soon regained her form and used the sharp blade on her ski shoe to kill him. At this time, all the villagers searched every corner on the road to find her. She found a bunker containing their weapons. This time, when she had hot goods, she would play bloody with the cult's assassins. The assassins were still searching for her. Seeing that time was running out, the old man immediately sent his trusted assassin subordinates to the armory to destroy her. They aggressively rushed inside without knowing that what was waiting for them was death. Seeing this, a junior did not dare to disrespect him. He secretly led a few others to sneak in from the secret tunnel in the armory. But when they were all surprised, they were surrounded by her alone. She, on this side, used a flamethrower to burn away all the enemies. But another guy promptly went to get another flamethrower to find her. As soon as the 2 sides met, a fight broke out. When both sides used similar weapons, the fighting mindset would prevail to see who was the strong one who deserved to live to the end. Suddenly, a group of henchmen rushed in from nowhere, causing her to spend more time fighting them. Taking advantage of that loophole, the other guy also started sneaking attacks. The 2 sides continued like that. She was thrown into the wall by that guy. He was also a good assassin. Even when his foot was on fire, he used it as a tool to attack her. Luckily, she was wearing protective clothing, so the fire couldn't burn her body. Next, she ran outside to find her uncle before the contract with John Wick ended. Outside, the civilians on patrol also received news that she had escaped and was no longer in the bunker. But before he could react, he immediately received fire from behind. She, with an expressionless face, walked forward and eliminated them one by one, very decisively. Realizing that the situation was increasingly difficult to control, his juniors advised him to leave town for safety. Furthermore, they had lost track of John Wick, so it would be much more dangerous if the boogeyman tried to help her assassinate him. Hearing that, he immediately took his niece to another place to hide. The junior received orders to stop her to buy time. She quickly changed tactics because the guy used a fire gun, so she countered it with a water sprinkler. The assassin also did not expect that this move could stop the gunfire. While she thought she was winning more and more, the assassin suddenly threw a blow that made her unable to react. He raised the gun and intended to finish her off on the spot when everyone's John Wick idol was present. There were only 4 minutes left until the appointment time ended for her, so John would have to eliminate her. This meant that the assassin would have to die for daring to cut John Wick's upper hand. Unknowingly, he saved her life. Knowing the boogeyman was helping her before time ran out, the assassin saw this and immediately went to kill the boogeyman. But these anonymous people were not worthy of John Wick's concern. Just a few basic moves, everyone was dead. On this side, she had found her uncle's location. He was sitting with little Ella and on his way out of town. Very quickly, she jumped up to block and knock down the driver. Her uncle also got out of the car, but he didn't seem afraid at all, because he thought this place was his territory. Even if she grew wings, it would be difficult for her to escape. Furthermore, the children in the village were destined to become assassins when they grew up. She also could not escape that fate. But before the old man could say more, she fired a shot, causing him to collapse. John Wick also saw the whole process, but he decided to spare her because he saw himself in this girl. Next, she opened the car door to take Ella out. She reached out to help the little girl as if it were her own, just as Winston helped her in the past. Finally, John called her godmother to inform him that the leader had been destroyed and that she was still alive. When the godmother learned that her uncle had passed away, she no longer needed to fear his revenge, so she did not pursue her. Surprisingly, Daniel was still alive and was being treated at the hospital. Ella happily held her father's hand. She was still much luckier than her because she still had relatives by her side. But she still could not escape the pursuit of the assassin service. This time, they put a bounty on her head for $5 million. This was also something she had predicted, so she did not panic. She was ready to rush out to face what was to come. So the movie has ended. She eventually followed in John Wick's footsteps, acting according to what they were taught since childhood. Transcend evil and protect innocent people without fear of imminent dangers. The movie ends here. If you like this movie, please leave a like and a comment. Now goodbye and see you again in the next recaps.